Evening, people. Yep, I know what you're thinking. Where's his baseball cap? I'm going commando tonight. I did have it here actually, but it's far too warm. Well, no, it's not Baltic outside. It's been really cold the last week, but the last couple of days, and particularly tonight or today, it's actually been not bad. It's been very, very mild. So yeah, I thought I'll not bother with the cap. So yeah, listen, I just thought it's not going to be a 2 hour jobby this at all. I wanted to get another waffle out because it feels like a long time since I've done a proper kind of sit down talking stuff. It's always just been in the car. But it's funny how, in fact, I was talking to my boss about that fairly recently. We were talking about, when you interview people, the old style interview was you got dragged in and you were sat at one side of the table and there would be three people and they would just put questions to you. And that is absolutely not the way to get the best out of somebody. And I always remember thinking, I used to get really nervous at interviews, and yet I used to think to myself, if somebody could just interview me in the car, let me drive the car, and I'll talk. I think because it's kind of like sort of non-confrontational, so to speak. It's easy to get, I don't know, get the best out of somebody. And I think sometimes that lends itself to like a waffle as well, because sometimes just when I'm especially doing one of these live things, I've got OBS, I've got the camera, and I'm conscious that there's people watching this and they're looking for some entertainment. That can sometimes be a wee bit daunting because you're thinking, well, fucking hell, what am I going to talk about? But doing it in a car, driving a car, you're not even really thinking about it. But anyway, getting back to where we are. Yeah, I hope you're all doing well. I've not got a massive amount to talk about. If anyone's want to ask me any questions in the stream, please put them in. You want my thoughts on anything, I will do my best to answer that. So I'm going to start off with I've got a wee list of a couple of things I want to talk about. One thing that I spotted yesterday, I'm a member of a couple of retro game sites, retro for sale game sites, and I think this one in particular, I think it's an American one. I'm just noticing I'm bloody sliding down. I'm going to turn that down. There we go. That's better. You can see me better. Evening, Holly. How are you? Um, yeah, what was I gibbering about? What the hell was I talking about? Yeah, yeah. Somebody in a retro for sale site. Somebody was selling Zelda Breath of the Wild, um, and they were wanting $300 for it. Now, what's that? There's a company that what are they called? They rate games, and they'll say they'll rate it and say, oh, this is a 9.6 or this is a whatever it is. They'll rate of how presumably a 10 is like the best. You can't get an 11. Um, and yeah, there was a Mario 64 was sold about 5 years ago for something like 4 million because it was like a 9.6. But this person was selling Zelda Breath of the Wild or whatever it's called for $300. So I went on to Amazon and I googled it or I did a search, and this bloody thing was for sale for 59 quid. So I then went on to the guy's thing and I just put alternatively buy it brand new from Amazon for 60 quid. And oh yeah, quite a few people were calling me an arsehole and blah blah blah. How dare I jump into somebody's sale, whatever. And I says, I don't get it. I says, why would somebody sell a game for $300 when you can buy it brand new for 60? Makes no sense. Then the guy then had the audacity to say because he had bought this brand new game, which was obviously in mint condition, he had then presumably paid money for this company, whoever rate the games, They then rated this game a 9.6 because it's brand new. And what he said was if he then leaves that for his kids, in 10 years' time, they'll have a 9.6 game to sell, which is going to be worth thousands. Now, I kind of get that. I get that. I mean, I'll be honest. When that Mario 64 story broke a few years ago, I thought, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do the same thing. So what I did was I bought Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. I've already got them both, but I bought them about 2 years ago, and they're still sealed. And I'm going to put them away. I'm hoping that one day they're going to be worth £4 million and I can sell them. So I get why somebody would maybe want to get a game like it's almost like they've got a time machine. They know that in 20 years' time, people are going to pay stupid money for a mint condition uh, Breath of the Wild game. So they've bought this. They've then paid this company money to rate it 986. But the fact that they're selling it for such a large amount of money, I'm like, fuck off, honestly. Anyway, that was my kind of rant. Um, I don't watch many retro gaming channels. But one that I do, I've only started kind of getting into him, and he's actually really good. He's got a nice, he's got a nice tone about him. He's like, yeah. Oh, hang on a second. Hang on a bloody second. Hang on 2 seconds. Hang on. Give me 2 seconds, folks. Sorry, folks. Yeah, that was a phone call. Anyway, so yeah, this guy was trying to sell this game. I don't understand it. It's people just pandering, not pandering. It's people, it's scalpers. It's people just trying to exploit other people. Anyway, sorry, I've moved on for that. I'm talking about this other YouTube channel. It's called Retro Recipes. Now, what you call it? The guy, I can't remember the guy's name. The guy that actually runs the channel is an American guy. I think he's one of the writers for like the mini zaps. Uh, and he's got a really good channel, and he featured a thing. It's a brand new Commodore 64, and it's actually been released by Commodore. Um, it looks the business. It looks really, really nice. I mean, it's obviously, I don't know whether it's an FPGA type thing again, but the downside to it is, I think it's about 600 quid. So yeah, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, but it does look nice. I'm still waiting to find out. Chris is English. Lives in the US. Um, yeah, what was I going to say there? Yeah, I'm still waiting to find out. I've sent an email to, I want to try and get myself one of the ultimate 64s, which looks nice. I mean, I spoke to Panther UK, he's got one. It's meant to be really, really nice. So I've mentioned why I've got like the Spectrum next. I've got it because I want to future proof the ability to play Spectrum games. I know I've got the Mister, which is fantastic. But I want to still be able to use these machines because keyboards, you need keyboards with computers, and so having something like the Spectrum Next or a modern kind of C64 solution, that's what I'm after. But yeah, that thing that the guy featured did look really, really, really nice. Before I get on to the main sort of meat and bones of this, just wanted to mention very, very quickly. There's been a couple of been a number of I suppose you could call high-profile deaths in the news in the last couple of weeks. Um, Most recently, obviously, Liam Payne from One Direction. wasn't a One Direction fan. Was a Liam Payne fan? Not really, from what I gather. And this is before he died. There's been apparently he wasn't a particularly nice person. But whatever you say about somebody, it's incredibly sad that somebody so young, I mean, I think he was like 31, somebody so young has died. It looks like it was suicide, which is a shame, and it just goes to show you'd like to think that that would send out a message to that kind of generation of kids. Kids now just want to be famous, and there was quite clearly a guy. He got he got fame handed to him out the blue. I mean, that's the thing about One Direction. They were all failures. They were all failures, and then they said, and then I think Simon Cowell or whatever it is, right? And you. Do you fancy being a boy band? There we go. And I mean, they were massive. Apparently, their first, don't know how many albums they had. 4 albums. Their first 4 albums went straight into #1 in America, which is phenomenal. But yeah, very very sad. I've seen a lot of really nasty stuff posted about the guy. I didn't know the guy, but he's got, most importantly, he's got a little baby bear. But anyway, that's another story. He's got a kid who's never going to see his dad again, and he's got a family as well who are going to be grieving. So yeah, I was saddened to hear that. Nobody, there's lots of nasty people out there putting lots of nasty things about people. Alex Salmond, he was the First Minister of Scotland at one point. A lot of people, including some of my family, can't stand the guy. They said he was a bully, he was this, he was that, he wasn't a very nice person. And I had just put a post on Facebook just saying how sorry I was that he'd passed away. He was only 69 years old. He wasn't old. Um, and a lot of people, I mean, my sister messaged me and went, "Oh, you don't know what he's like, and he's this and he's that, and blah 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 blah." And I'm like, "Look," I says, "I didn't know the guy. I didn't know him from Adam. Never met the guy." I says, "I'm only talking about what he did from a professional point of view. Whatever you say about the guy, um, whatever you say about the guy, he wore his heart on his sleeve with Scotland. He was Scottish through and through. He fought for his country. He almost got independence for us. Um, so I was saddened to see that. Like I said, my sister was telling me lots of things. She knows somebody that knows him, and he's done this and all that kind of stuff. And I was talking to one of my friends. I says, it's a bit like, I don't know, if you're a 16-year-old boy and you love, like, I don't know, Ronaldo or Lionel Messi, whatever, you've got posters up on your wall, you think this guy's great, and then somebody turns around and says, "Oh, do you know that he's a paedophile and he abuses women and he does this and he's nasty and he's got a really bad temper?" You know, I like Alex Salmond for the professional thing that he did. I didn't know the guy. He might be a complete cock in real life. I don't know. And the last one, the most important one, was Chris Serrell. Uh, Chris, if you're a certain age, he appeared in a program called That's Life. How would you describe That's Life? It was one of these programs where they would have, they would feature like people would write in and say, I got windows installed by Weatherseal Windows and they're rubbish, blah 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 blah." And it was like a consumer program. It was almost like Watchdog. I don't think Watchdog's on anymore. But yeah, they would do an investigation and contact the company and all this kind of bollocks. Then they would have silly things like a dog that could talk. Yeah, there was this dog. Anybody of a certain age would remember the dog that said sausages. If you actually, if you actually watch it back, it is on YouTube. Just type in "That's Life sausages talking dog." It sounds bugger all like sausages. But yeah, it was just it was a kind of random thing. Anyway, Chris Serrell, he was one of the co-hosts. But yeah, I think before that he was the sort of figurehead from the BBC. He was the guy that somebody described him. Who was it described him? Yeah, it was one of my friends, Mick. described him as he was like the perfect nobody to represent the rest of us when it came to computers, because on the computer program there were you had Ian McNaught Davis, who I loved. He looked like the skateboarding duck. I don't remember that one. Yeah, what was I talking about? Ian McNaught Davis. He was like, he looked, you know what? The funny thing is, he's probably about 20 years younger than me, but he looked like a school teacher. He used to wear like the sort of the checkered kind of jacket, the tweed jacket, and he had like the comb over and the kind of thick rimmed glasses. He was a complete, I was going to say buffoon. He was a complete geek. He uh, he would talk about computers, bits and zeros and gates and all this kind of stuff. And he would try and explain to Chris what a computer was. And it was fantastic. And what we're going to do in a wee minute, we're going to watch a computer program because, yeah, we just want to pay homage to the late, great Chris Serrell. So we're going to, in fact, I think I've got some water to drink, so I think we should watch a TV program. Let me just find one. What I'm going to do, because it's probably easier, let's have a look. Let's see what we can watch. I think we should watch the very, very first one. Right, TV, video game. Yeah, I think he was best known for the computer program. So let's watch issue. Let's watch episode, I should say. Episode 1. Right, what I need to do is open that like that. Now, hopefully we can. What am I going to do here? I need to do. Oh, display. Ah, there we go. There we go. Right, can you still hear me? Yeah, you can hear me. I'll actually stay out of shot for this one, I think. Or can I move that? Yeah, listen, I'll stay out of shot for this one, and we can watch this. Hopefully you can hear this. So this is, this is the computer program, and this is just in memory of Chris Serrell. Hopefully you can hear this. I'll just put it back to there. Let me know if you can hear this. No, you can't. Wait a wee minute. Right, hang on. I shall rewind it once.
You know what it says in the Bible?
Right, you can hear that. Right, I'll put that back.
Good morning, sir.
Oh, good morning. I'd like to buy a computer.
Certainly, sir. What did you have in mind?
Well, I don't know very much about computers.
Is it loud enough, folks?
Yeah. Well, there's the apple, the acorn, the pear.
The banana?
Yes, we have no bananas. Oh. We do have tangerines.
What's all this greengrocery got to do with computers?
Well, sir, you know what it says in the Bible? Be fruitful and multiply.
I really wanted something electronic.
Disc or cassette, sir?
No, not hi-fi.
You know, you'd be happy with a pet.
I had really set my heart on a computer.
You want to try watching the new TV series, sir? The computer program. There's even a computer that goes with it.
Oh, that's very nice. Have you got one in blue?
You don't know much about computers, do you, sir?
No, but I know what I like. Well, the world of computers can seem a very unfriendly jungle to the uninitiated, but it doesn't have to be like that. During the course of this series, one of the things I should be doing is finding out what ordinary people, non-experts like you and I, need to know about what they call information technology. One thing I know already, the computer revolution isn't happening tomorrow. It's happening now.
Oh goodness, that just oozes nostalgia from me. How's the volume, folks? Can you let me know, please?
For many centuries, man has searched for tools to help him with complex calculations. I suppose the fingers were the first. 10 of them.
Evening, Steve. Turned up a wee bit Ox. Hopefully that's better.
Limited in application. Recently, a theory has emerged that this was built 5,000 years ago as a complex astronomical computer to calculate the movements of the sun and the moon. It sounds hard to accept, but if this really was a computer, I thought it'd be interesting to compare it with one of the early large-scale computers that were around in the 50s. There's many similarities. Firstly, very few people understood how they worked. At Stonehenge, you had to be a member of a hierarchical priesthood, and it took several years before you learnt its secrets. On the early computers, you had to have a degree in mathematics before you were even allowed through the computer room door. At the time Stonehenge was built, the society was mainly agricultural. Forecasting the seasons was vital. From the position of the rising sun in relation to these stones, the approach of spring and winter could be forecast. But if you wanted to reprogram Stonehenge to base the calendar on lunar cycles instead, the stones would have to be moved. It didn't take much less effort to reprogram those old, unreliable 50s computers, and within 10 years, they were replaced. Stonehenge lasted 1,200 years, but eventually it too became redundant. This morning, we can see the sun. But the climate changed, and no longer was it visible on enough days to justify its existence. So it was abandoned and left to what it is today, a mysterious but rather magnificent pile of old stones. It was obviously important for a farming community to predict the seasons, but forecasting the weather was quite another matter. The trouble with the stones was their inflexibility. A modern computer can be used for a wide variety of applications, some of them extremely complex. For example, a prediction of weather patterns for the whole globe up to 10 days ahead can be produced in just 4 hours.
The European Weather Centre has one of the fastest and most powerful computers in the world. Its capacity for work is colossal. These metal megaliths have within them the power to collect weather information from all over the world of temperature, pressure, humidity, and so on, and process them at the rate of 50 million instructions per second. And then with a great primordial burp, out comes the weather for the next 10 days. Now, just to put that in some sort of perspective, if I were to do the same calculation, single-handed, even with the aid of a perfectly ordinary pocket calculator like that, I would need to have started well before Stonehenge was even thought of. Or to put it another way, if I gave the job to the entire population of China to share, the chances are they could do the job in 4 hours. But then, at the end of it, the chances are I wouldn't be able to collect the information even if I could speak Chinese. Now, this here is the center of this colossal machine. This is the Cray. And you get the feeling in the presence of a mighty machine like that that somewhere around the corner there lurks a high priest.
Holy,
in white
that's
robes
one
who's
for
about to
the
make some
cave.
ritualistic
The Cray.
sacrifice to appease the beast. But one of the purposes of this television series is to demystify computers. And so we can say, for instance, that a personal computer like that, which puts computer power within the reach of everybody's pockets, it's highly advertised, is quite capable of doing the same sort of job, has the same function inside, more or less in principle, as that does. The only difference is that it does it slower. So if we wanted to use microcomputers to do the same job as that, we'd need about 1 million of them. And in fact, there are over 100 different makes of small computer now on sale in Britain. You can't have failed to notice the ads in the papers for them. Look at this one. Familiar faces make them seem the answer to the businessmen's problems. And you don't need a degree in electronic wizardry to use them, it says. And this supplement has no less than 5 ads for them, and they're all of them clearly directed at the family.
Is that right, Colin?
Look
A
at that.
Cray computer
Give
is
your
less
child an
powerful than a
unfair
phone.
advantage at school.
That's insane.
And there are many specialist computer magazines on the newsstands. Again, full of very tasty adverts. Inside a day, you'll be talking to it like a new friend, it says. And now they're even starting to appear in their own TV commercials.
Space! But that's just the beginning. Beat the computer with the numbers game. Or even compose a symphony.
Well, don't despair. This series will show that the computer is within the reach of anybody, including me. And the man who'll be ably helping us with the task is Ian McNaught Davis. Mac, you've
There he
been
is.
working with computers since Stonehenge was built, I think, haven't you?
I thought you were going to come out with that remark about it being the first silicon chip.
Is that what Stonehenge is?
Just about, yes. Well, I did program those early valve machines, which had several interesting characteristics. First, they were extremely expensive to buy. They were horrendously expensive to run. You needed a resident maintenance engineer just to keep the things going. And they were very slow compared with modern computers. Just to give you an idea, it's a lovely analogy, but it turns out that the Volkswagen Beetle went into production at about the same time as the first large computer was made. And if that had improved in price performance as much as the computers had, then you would have had a Beetle today doing 600 miles an hour, 30,000 miles to the gallon. It would have lasted 10,000 years without a service, and it would have cost you 50p, so you'd have had a disposable motor car. And in comparison with those early valve machines, that watch, which has got 4 games on it and tells the time, probably has as much logic in it as those very early old-fashioned valve machines.
What's the secret of it? How has it happened?
Well, strangely enough, it's this, silicon. That's what sand is made out of. It's what the silicon chip is made out of. And unlike oil, we're not going to run out of it. Every country's got some of it, and it's extremely cheap. For example, the power of this machine here, which is a fairly sizable mini computer, mainframe computer, one day will be on a chip. You'll get the same power out of a chip as you have in this mainframe computer. Amazing. And that will happen in a very few years' time.
Right. Well, even before that day comes, computers are still doing some pretty staggering jobs, many of which we take for granted and which would simply not be possible without computer power.
The old early robots, that's what it always looked like, eh?
Mac, what is it that makes computers so very useful to us? Is it that they're cleverer than we are?
Now, they're quite stupid in many ways, but in certain ways they are very clever. They can handle a vast amount of information, and they can handle it very rapidly. And what's more, they can keep on doing it without making any mistakes, night after night after day after night and so on, which we can't obviously do.
Right. Well, I can understand that being applied to sending a man to the moon or running the Pentagon or something, colossal, endless computations. But for an ordinary person who just maybe wants to run a small business or something, it's very confusing. We read ads in the paper. You could spend anything from £50 to £5,000 on a computer. But what use could I get from it?
Well, of course, many of these are set up to show games. This one here, for example, and you can play silly games on them. There's a very
Silly
important
games.
educational element of learning how to program these computers. First of all, it's fun. People enjoy it. And secondly, it's very creative. You can do very interesting and exciting things. It's boundless, the sort of things that you can actually use your creative imagination to do. And thirdly, it might turn out to be useful for your business. And there's no business that I can imagine that at some time or other won't find the use for a computer.
Right. Now, supposing I wanted to use a computer for my business. I'm a freelance journalist. I mean, let's take my example as maybe a typical one. What gear do I need? Because there's a terrifically wide range of choice.
Well, of course, you need the computer with a keyboard,
Yes.
something like this. You need a
Even in
video
Dell.
screen. You need a straightforward cassette recorder to store your programs on as much as anything.
Right.
Obviously, you need a printer here for printing out your letters. And if this was a bit slow, the cassette recorder is a bit slow, you can buy yourself a disk unit, which is a lot faster, and that stores it on a disk instead of on the ordinary magnetic cassette. And that's the equipment you need.
Well, business as Max said, and particularly small business, is the fastest growing area to which personal or microcomputers are being applied. Now, our reporter, Jill Neville, has been finding out just how small some of those businesses are.
Buying sweets or
Milk
chocolates
peanuts.
always requires serious study.
Oh my goodness,
There's so
look at
many
that.
different sorts
Fruit
to
and
choose
nut.
from.
Well, those are 10. Those are 10. You've got something there at
Toffees.
sixpence.
Because
Toffos,
there are so
sorry.
many varieties on the shelves, the shopkeeper must do an awful lot of bookkeeping,
Russian caramels,
both
my
to
mum
check
loved
the
them.
stores and keep up the orders to
Hey,
all
Bob,
the
how you doing, buddy?
suppliers. In addition, Phyllis Arundel wanted to know more frequently than her accountant could tell her precise financial position. She'd seen microcomputers advertised
I wonder
and
where that
decided
computer
that
is
she
now.
too must have one.
But not all sweet shop owners have a computer. Once you actually
God,
had
remember
the
the
computer
tills?
here and you
Yes.
had that keyboard and the blank screen facing you, weren't you rather apprehensive?
No.
You knew what to do already, did you?
Well, I mean, it looked like a typewriter, didn't it? And I could operate a typewriter, and I was fascinated by the little bits that came up on the screen in front of me, and having a printer and able to press another button, and it came out on the print at the side. It was great fun.
Has it actually helped you in your business, do you
Yeah,
think?
well, it hasn't financially helped. It hasn't brought in more custom, which is what I would need. But what it has done, it's given me a lot
I can
more
play
time.
Space
and
Invaders.
The jobs that took ages, but manually, now it's done in seconds.
To keep up to date,
Sugar
her
diamonds,
40
God,
sweet
Mum loved
suppliers,
them as well.
VAT and the bank used to take Phyllis Arundel several hours bookwork every night. And that's the last thing you need after 10 hours on your feet.
Stop the local vandals breaking in. Evening, Russ. How are you, mate?
Now, at the end of each day, it's simply a matter of checking the day's takings and entering them and the invoices into the computer. Once a week, she also enters details of any transactions with the bank, and the computer will then give her an up-to-date statement of her current financial position.
What shall I do next? Do this first.
Because she'd found it so useful, Phyllis thought that a computer might help other people with small
Look at the
businesses.
size of that hard
So
disk,
a
you
year
know.
ago, she
Bloody
started up
hell.
a computer service to take over their paperwork, allowing them to get on with their jobs.
Do you think the computer side of your business
Juicy
ever taking
fruit.
over from the chocolates?
I hope so.
Double mint.
Yes, it'd be great fun because at the present time, the chocolate, this business is sort of going down because we've got a new bypass and it's affected trade. And in any case, I find that more exciting. I find the computer business much more exciting.
Mac, have I got to be able to program a microcomputer in order to get some value from it?
Not necessarily. You can buy a magazine, for example, and get program listings. I love this one with the bug-eyed monster and the lights coming out of its eyes.
What about
and
the
in here they
stupid
publish
games?
all manner of different sorts of programs, and they list them out for you.
And what do? You type all that into the computer?
You type it all in without one mistake, and one mistake will ensure that it will never work.
Right, well, that's pretty laborious business, isn't it?
Well, you can buy it, of course, on a cassette.
Yeah.
Just an ordinary household cassette like this.
That's just a perfectly ordinary domestic cassette. And
Yes.
presumably that's the same in principle as the proper big computer has, like James Bond films, has big tapes rolling backwards and forwards. It's the same sort of thing.
That's exactly the same. Well, in principle, it's the same. That's running about 250 times the speed of that, and they can run up to 8,000 times the speed of that. Things in computers don't happen 10 times or twice as fast. It's always 100 times or 1,000 times as fast.
But for our purposes, this is perfectly good.
We have a program in there, and we can put it into the machine.
Well, let's do it. Right, so far so good. There's a perfectly ordinary domestic cassette recorder.
Exactly.
Okay, connected to this. Now, what happens next?
Well, we have to load the program into the machine. So you type load.
LOAD.
Now, we've got to give it the name of the program. So in this particular machine, we have to use quotation marks to give it the name. So quotation marks, and the name of the game is Wall. It's the old Wall game.
Right.
Now, we must switch on the cassette,
Yes.
and then hit return. And that puts the control back to the computer. And now it's beginning to search.
Right. Now, presumably, as you said, this is a fairly slow and laborious way of doing it, and we could speed things up by using one of the floppy disks you were talking about earlier.
Yes, on a floppy, this is about 130 times the speed of that, and of course it costs correspondingly more.
So this takes minutes and that takes seconds?
Yeah, it'll take half a minute, so that would take, be in flash, no time at all.
Right. Now, how do we know it's finished?
Well, we've got the symbol back here, and that shows the computer's waiting for you to do your next thing.
So that's in there?
That's it, so we can switch it off.
And presumably we can check, can we, that what was on there is in there now?
Happily, yes. All you have to do is to...
I get the feeling that he was genuinely confused about this. It isn't an act. And, you know, like most people back then,
Wow.
this was all completely new.
That is exactly what it's read in from that cassette.
Right. Right. Okay, well, we know it's in there. How do we play the game?
Just tell it to run.
Run. Nice, simple English words, I must say. And return, I suppose.
That's it. And you should be in the game. It works.
Right. All game. Moves the bat. Left with the Z key, right with the X key. Try to knock all the bricks out with the ball. Bricks to the further back score more points. You're allowed 3 balls. Large or small bat. Well, I'll have an L bat. As a beginner. Press any key to serve. Right. Nice multicoloured game, this. I see. Yes, right. I think I get the picture.
Oh, I hope you're better at tennis than you are at this.
It's so simple to play. Okay, well, obviously it's not just for playing games. They're terrific fun, but there must be more to it than that.
I really hate to see computers just used for playing games. To my mind, it's kind of degrading when they could be used for much more serious purposes. And, of course, there are millions of uses for them, many of which we're going to look at in this series. For example, you can actually use this to communicate with much larger scale computers through telephone networks. You can use it to communicate with other people who own micros, and you could use it to communicate with databases.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to show you right now.
All right.
And we're going to access a database, and we do this by typing star Prestel. So it's star Prestel. Prestel. We're now dialing Prestel automatically through the ordinary telephone lines, and we can access enormous databases, everything from the current share price to weather forecasts and so on.
And key something or other to continue.
In case you've just joined this stream, folks, this is a live stream. We're just
What would you
watching
like to do?
Well,
Commodore
we thought
programme.
about this before the
It's a
programme
little
started.
tribute
and I
to
decided
the
I'd
late,
fly
great
Paris.
Chris Serrell, the guy with the rather fetching
Well, there we go.
grey suit on the left.
Presto.
Presto, I've never heard of that airline, but I'll take a chance.
Oh, we don't want to
Sound
book a real
friendly.
ticket on one of the others.
I see. Now, we're going to Paris, so presumably I put 1 in there, and
One
if that's
from
where the
Paris,
little flashing thing is, that's where it's going to come. All right. 1
And a hash.
and a hash.
Prestel when computers looked like computers.
Hash, get in the hang of this. Date of travel, the 11th of January.
That's 11:01. Oh,
Just like that.
yep, that's it.
Well, here goes. I hope it works. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, I hope you've got a seat for me on the 6:30 flight to Paris this evening.
Right, sir. Can I have your name, please?
Serle, S-E-R-L-E.
Yes, sir. The BA316 at 18:30. How would you like to pay?
By credit card.
The fare is £64.
Wonderful. Really well.
This flight is now boarding at gate 25.
Well, obviously Heathrow is computer land, and planes now fly with so many passengers over such colossal distances. It's just enormous speeds. Airlines depend now completely on computers, because the only way they can sell tickets reasonably cheaply is by having full planes. And the other luxury of this colossal computer network is that I can cancel at any time I feel like it, right up till 5 minutes before the flight closes. And anybody else in the country or in the world can have the same seat on the same plane. What's more, without computers, the chances are this ticket to Paris could cost as much as £1,000. But before we get carried away with enthusiasm for these miracles of technology, perhaps we should consider a more objective view. Author and journalist Rex Malik has been observing and writing about the computer world for more than 20 years. Where does he think it's leading us?
It's leading us to major change. Some would say as unprecedented change has occurred during the First Industrial Revolution.
He is fantastic.
Now, if you're
He's
going
like
to
a
understand the nature of
Russian
that change,
spy.
you'd better understand something of the nature of the technology which fuels it. In this program, they've shown you the Cray 1, the Weather Center computer, a supercomputer. Yet, in comparison to what's to come, that isn't even the equivalent of a Model T Ford. The Japanese have just started a program to build a computer 100 times as powerful. That program, they say, will take about 10 years. Okay, so it slips, say 20. That means very simply that at the end of 20 years, almost everybody will have one, or access to one. Now why? Well, because it's going to be made out of microelectronics. And it's in the nature of microelectronics that 90% of the costs come up front, i.e. it costs you 90% of the total to build the first one. Thereafter, you can shell them out like peas. So everybody has one. That means that a 15-year-old at school today, by the time he's 35 to 45, is going to have almost unbelievable brain and memory power added to aid him in his work. And there's another question, what people are going to use it for. Well, in fact, you're going to find that most of the time that computer's going to sit there idle. It's going to be parked just like the cars parked at the curb. Sometimes it'll go to top speed, but very seldom. Now, the question now becomes, it's not that do computers have social consequences? It is, what are the social consequences of computers? What are the issues that are raised? And remember, we're talking about a computer of 100 times the most powerful computer on the planet, and yet it's essentially built out of the very same technology that Chris booked his holiday on.
Fantastic. Yeah, what a program that is. I never get bored of watching that. It takes me back to that time in my life when computers were just coming out. I didn't even own a computer at that point, but I couldn't get enough, magazines and programs. It didn't matter the fact that it was about, whatever it was. It didn't have to be computer games. Just fantastic. So yeah, rest in peace, Chris Serrell. Absolute legend. Excuse me, right? I think Ox was asking me a question. Um, what did he say here? I've got a question for later. Do you think humanity is in danger of becoming like the people on the cruise ship in the film Wall-E due to future overdependence on AI? Now, I have a terrible memory for films. I could watch a film and then a week later, I can't remember. People could be talking about it. Do you remember that scene? Do you remember this happening? I don't remember. I've got an awful, awful, awful memory when it comes to that. But yeah, Wall-E. I mean, it's a great film. Um, I'm kind of indifferent. In fact, I'm probably not indifferent. I'm probably not a fan of artificial intelligence. It's fine for things like, playing a computer game, playing a football computer game. You need artificial intelligence for that. But I don't like the way it's going now. If you're on social media of any kind, I mean, I'm on Twitter, whatever it's called. I tend to use that just to post videos. I don't use Instagram at all. the only real I use obviously YouTube, and I use what do you call it, Facebook, and even then Facebook now it just annoys me too much. But it's still handy. It's handy when you're wanting to keep in touch with people. But the number of videos and photographs that you see, you know, just anything that could be like, here's a video of a lion attacking a white shark. It's quite clearly made up, and people comment like it's real. And we've reached the point now. I mean, even cameras, even modern phones now, you can take a photograph of your friend against a statue, and then they then take a picture of you against the statue, and then you merge them into one, and then you can get your friend to send you a selfie, and then you can add them to the photograph. So nothing that you see now is real. It's just made up. And then it's gone to the stage now where, I mean, I've got Windows 11, and there's like an AI thing, is it Copilot, which I've now turned off because a few of my friends were telling me you don't want that shit running. You can just you can just tell it, tell me a story about a Scotsman called Main Meister fighting Superman on a desert island, and it'll just make up a story. And we've reached the point now where people could be studying for exams, and it must go on, and you can, instead of writing your own story, you can just get it to make it up. And then there was I mean, AI in music now. You're listening to somebody playing, and it's like, well, I'll give you an example. My daughter, I'm actually going down to London this weekend, next weekend, I should say, and myself and my daughter are going down, and she's going to a concert in Wembley Stadium, and it's a real, I think it's a Japanese band, and the singer is AI. She's not real. She's like a hologram, and she doesn't even. The voice is all made up. It's all AI. You could say, well, what's wrong with that if it's entertaining? But you've got to feel sorry for genuine, like, authors, genuine people who paint pictures. I mean, I could just, look at that picture that Bob painted me. Fantastic. He probably spent hours painting that, and yet I could probably recreate something similar by just asking the AI to create a picture of Elvis Presley playing a guitar with a Berserk logo in the background and some clouds, and it could probably do something similar. Eh, And then just to kind of follow on, Colin Jones was saying, in fact, no, I beg your pardon, it was Dale. Dale Boy was saying Wally also predicted the waste ground full of obsolete stuff, something that's happening now in our throwaway society that I feel is going to happen. Absolutely. We do. We live in a throwaway society. Instead of getting things fixed, we just throw them out. My girlfriend's been moving house over the last few months, and the amount of stuff that, to be fair, we've not taken a lot to the tip. We've given a lot to charity. We've given stuff away. But yeah, people, you go to the local recycling centre, and the amount of stuff that, like, TVs and even like the general waste, there's bikes. I'm tempted to climb into the bloody skip and retrieve it. It's just mental. And another part of like Wally that we've turned into. In fact, it was Ben Elton wrote is it Popcorn? It's called. He wrote a book about 20 years ago called Popcorn, which I haven't read, but I've heard about it. And it basically predicts the way society has become. It says that kids are going to call people are going to call their kids like Happy Meal and Big Mac and all that kind of stuff, name them after fast food, and that's only a matter of time before that happens. I mean, we've now in Wally, there's a bit where like these people are just getting fatter and fatter and fatter, and they're ordering food and their food's getting delivered to them. That's us. We are that people. We live in this bubble in our living rooms. You phone Just Eat and they will deliver food to you. Do I like the way it's going? Absolutely not. But AI, yeah, I don't like the fact it's now making music. You could play a music track and it's not real. Nobody's played any music on it. Um, Yeah, not a fan at all. Anyway, listen, time is wearing on. I was actually wanting to finish this in an hour, but what I'm going to do is there's three things I want to talk about, two things I want to talk about, and one thing I want to show you. When I was doing my waffle a couple of weeks ago, it was one of my driving waffles. I was telling you the story about my suit, and then where I was going, the road was blocked, and I had to stop. And I'm like, shit, I'm going to have to stop the waffle because I need to concentrate on what I'm doing. If you're interested, the story for the suit, I was going to a wedding about a month ago, and about 3 years ago, one of my cousins, who's a lot younger than me, gave me, or in fact, he didn't give me it, but his mum, my auntie, gave me a suit, really nice suit, kind of silver suit, waistcoat, looked the business. So I thought to myself, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to wear. I mean, I've got a kilt. I've got a kilt that I got when I was 21, and I can still fit in it. Um, I thought to myself, no, I don't want to wear the kilt to the wedding. I think I'll wear this suit. So I got to my girlfriend's house and on like the night before, and we were due to the wedding started at 2, and we were picking somebody up at 20 to 2, and it was 20 past 12 at this point, 20 past 1, and she's like, you better hurry up, you better go and get ready. I went, yeah, 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 I'm fine. It only takes me 5 minutes, bit of deodorant, wash my face, brush my teeth, clothes on, boom, out the door. So went upstairs, it's about 1:30 at this point. Thought, like, that's fine, trousers on, oh, nice fit. Shirt, shit. The shirt wouldn't fasten. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, this was like half an hour before the wedding started. So she's like, oh, you need to go down to Asda, buy yourself a white shirt, make sure it's big enough. I thought, right, that's fine. So I jumped in the car, down to Asda, and I'm like, excuse me, where's the white shirts? Oh, they're over there, son. Or son, they call me sir now. Nobody calls me son. Uh, saw the white shirts, picked them up. I have got no idea what size I am. None at all. Don't know. No idea. I know what waist I am. I don't know what size of shirt I am. So I picked them up, and like the smallest one was 16, and which I think is the neck. I didn't know that. I know that now. So I thought, well, I better not buy the smallest one because that'll be too tight. So I picked up a 17 and an 18. So I got rushed back, jumped in the car, back home. By this point, it was like 20 to 2. The wedding was starting in 20 minutes. Um, Opened up the smallest one, put it on, and it was fucking massive. Massive. And she's like, oh my God, it looks ridiculous. I'm like, well, I can't do anything about it. I'm just going to have to wear it. And she went, you look stupid. I'm like, oh, fucking hell. So this was now about 1:45. Um, so by luck, she phoned her friend that we're picking up. She says, look, Al's got this shirt on. The shirt that he had is far too small for him. He's bought this shirt out of Asda, which is massive. uh, has your son got a shirt that he can wear? And by luck, our son, who's about 18-year-old, had a shirt that I could put on. So that was my shirt story from a few weeks ago. I'm gonna scroll back down there. Um, Evening, Colin. How are you? Right. Anyway, what was I going to say? So yeah, that was my shirt story. Right. What I'm going to do. I've got one thing I want to show you. But before that, I just want to touch on last week. Monday didn't do very much. No, I'll tell a lie. I tell a lie. I was Monday this week. I went down to Swindon. Now, Holly, I don't know if Holly's still tuning in. Holly's been watching my channel for quite a long time. She's been a good part of the wee community we've got. There's a guy, Neil, Retro Man Cave, which I'm sure if you don't know about Retro Man Cave, go and check it out. I'm not just saying this, but I've got no time for the big YouTubers. But Neil, he's a genuinely nice guy. He's got a real passion for the hobby. His videos are excellent. So anyway, Neil has Neil has he opened up a museum. Now, apologies if I'm getting some of this wrong. He opened up a museum. He took over this mill in a place called Stroud, and he has filled it with this mind-numbing number of computers, games, magazines, consoles, and Holly. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty, but Holly is now part of it. Holly knew Neil from previous. Holly is now part of this kind of business, and they've got an arcade. Now Holly got in touch with me. She said, "Oh, look," he says, "you're not far from where I am." So she picked me up on Monday night. Very kind of her. She picked me up on Monday night. We drove. I mean, she was at the arcade. She drove 20 miles to get me. Drove me back, and I said it's in this big mill from like the 1800s, whatever it is. And she took me upstairs and into the cave where Neil's got his collection, and my jaw literally hit the floor. I experienced something I've never experienced ever. And it was like the minute I stepped into this place, I was just overcome with the number of machines and it was phenomenal. It had the smell. It felt, you know what, I said that to Holly when I left. It was like being, it was like somebody had actually transported me back to 1985 and I was in this place. And it's hard to describe how incredible this thing is. Apart from the number of consoles, you name it, they've got it. There's stuff that I've never heard of. It's Sharp X 68000s, FM Towns, Marty, God knows how many Atari machines, stuff I've never heard of. Um, but what makes it even more incredible? They're all laid out. Um, they're all laid out like an old kind of computer shop. It's just got that whole ambience of a computer shop in the 80s. Like the if Carlsberg made computer shops, this is what it would be. Just eh, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And what makes it even more incredible is they've got so much stuff that's like brand new. I mean, there's one room that's just dedicated to PCs. They've got like a Packard Bell. They've got God knows what, and they've got like, is it Voodoo Effects cards? The first one, the second one, the third one, and they're all boxed. They're all still wrapped up in cellophane. It's just mind numbing. And then the icing in the cake in the icing in the cake in that particular section is Neil has created a shop. You go in and it's like being in John Menzies or W.H. Smith or Boots. You've got the shelves with Commodore 64 games, Spectrum games. He's even got the signs. It's incredible. I was completely starstruck. I was like, wow. Now, it was only Holly and I that were there. I mean, I felt so privileged the fact that I got to spend. I mean, we were there from about, I don't know, 6:30 until about 9:30. And then Holly was actually driving home that night. It was She didn't get home till like 2:45 in the morning. So we ended up going to we went to this chippy. I got fish and chips. Holly got pie and chips, except she didn't get a pie. They didn't include the pie. She just had a bag of chips. So I felt pretty bad about that. My fish was lovely, however, Holly. Um, but then the other part of it, you've got the cave, which is just all the machines. You've then got the arcade, which is Holly's domain. Now, Holly's an extremely talented young lady. She can fix stuff. She's really technical, repair stuff, and it's an arcade that's got about. We were talking about it actually. I said, "How many machines have you got?" She couldn't remember. I reckon there's about probably 40 machines in this arcade, and she's got music that she was playing, and it was all 80s music, Spandau Ballet, Gold, Baltimore, all that kind of stuff. And I was sitting playing. I was standing playing all these machines. She's got Star Wars, Outrun, oh you name it, and they're all mint condition. And it was phenomenal. Like I said, I was there for about 3.5 hours. Um, and time caught up. And I says, look, we need to go. I need to get back to my hotel because I'm up for work in the morning. And more importantly, Holly had to drop me off and then head back home. I have got a video. I took about 40 minutes video of both areas. There was lots of other stuff that Holly showed me, which isn't the public don't get to see. Really interesting. I mean, the amount of stuff they've probably got about as much stuff in storage than they have actually put out. But I've got a video. So what I want to do, I want to just to kind of be polite. I contacted Neil and I've told him he knew that I was going to be there. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Neil because he was away for the day because it was obviously late at night. But hopefully next time, Holly has said there will be another time. She'll pick me up and we'll go back down. It would be nice to meet Neil because I've started since being down there. I've started watching the videos and they're fantastic. I mean, there's is it Richard, Holly, Neil, and there's a few others. They're genuinely nice people who are so passionate about about the hobby. And it's kind of weird. I kind of thought to myself, apart from looking a wee bit like Neil, to be fair, he's a good looking guy just like myself. I thought Neil's passion and what he's doing is exactly like what I would love to be able to do. I would love to have the ability to do what he's doing, the expertise. It's never going to happen, but his passion just absolutely reflects my passion of the hobby. Um, Cheers, Dale. Take care, buddy. Um, Yeah, so what I was going to say, it was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So I've got a video which is going to be coming out. Um, I've still to do the sort of commentary over it. Once I finish that, I'm going to send it to Neil and Holly to watch, just to make sure they're happy enough that I've said nothing that I shouldn't say or anything. So that will be coming out. So listen, just one last little thing I'm going to do, folks. Um, I'm conscious of time. It's 10 past 10. If you've listened to, let's close that. How do we get out with that? If you've listened to the exit full screen, there we go. If you've listened to the Nice and Nasty for this week, if you haven't, I do apologise. There's going to be a spoiler. Bob, one of his games that he would take, it was video pinball. And like when I do all these nice and nasties. Oh, hang on a second. Oh, I don't know if you guys are still here. Hang on. I need to see if I can. Hang on a second. Can I options? Can I make it video borderless window? Right. Yeah. Keep changes. Right. Back. I'm back. Yeah. What was I talking about? Bob was talking about how wonderful playing these online video games, online pinball games. So I had a little look, and I managed to find this. I'm just going to share it with you, and I was playing it for a couple of days. Right, hang on a second. Hopefully, a wee minute. Hang on, I'm just going to come back out. Wait a wee minute. Right, so, right. Hopefully you can see this. Can you hear this? You can hear me talking. Tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that a wee bit weird, and then I'll make me a wee bit weird. Hang on. Webcam. Oops. Don't want to turn my webcam off. I'll just make me slightly smaller. Right, you can sit down there. out the way. Right, and what I want to do is put that like that. Right, hopefully you can see and hear this. Right, for some reason, wait a wee minute. Wait a wee minute, I just need to get the audio set up for this. Properties, pinball effects.
Row.
Can you hear that okay? Right, yeah, so this is Pinball Effects 3. Now you need to buy these games.
My collection.
So I've got quite a lot of tables. But yeah, if you go to something like I don't know, what was the one that was playing Paranormal?
Paranormal.
Single player and
I never really got to play pinball back in the day. You do not have Wizard's power upgrades for you, so want to continue without them. Yeah. Yeah, I never really got to play pinball back in the day. But I've got to say, this is bloody good.
Game paused.
Welcome, Special Agent. Skill shot.
You can have the what do you call it? The trails from the ball turned on. But I tend to leave that off because it doesn't really look that realistic. How's the sound balance, by the way? Is this too loud? Am I too loud? Let me know.
The ball is out there. Kickback activated. I thought you were a gunner.
So you can probably tell I'm shite on them, but anyway.
Magazine charged. Ball lost.
I've tried these over the years. The problem with these things is, you'll probably remember me talking about I got kicked off a certain torrent site because I downloaded a 1 terabyte pinball thing, and I could never figure out how to get it working.
It's not your time.
But this is really good.
Ball lost.
Is that it? There we
You
go.
have leveled up and upgraded this table.
Yeah. Right, anyway folks, that's enough of that. I'm going to make myself full screen again. Hang on, webcam, and I want to make that, how do I make that full screen? There we go. Right, anyway folks, listen, hopefully you've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed it tonight. Hopefully you have too. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. There will be a nice and nasty out on Tuesday, and I do have a couple of videos coming out next week as well. So yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for joining me tonight. Have a fantastic Sunday. Have a fantastic weekend. There may be a live stream on Sunday. I don't know. If I'm going to do it, I will tell you. So until next time, folks, as always, thanks for tuning in. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching.